Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling strangely drained, like something was off but you couldn't quite explain why? Maybe they smiled. Maybe they laughed. Maybe they even said all the right things. But something inside you whispered, "This doesn't feel real." That whisper matters. That whisper is your intuition, the voice we've been conditioned to ignore. Too often, we silence it to keep the peace, to be polite, to avoid seeming paranoid or dramatic. But here's the truth. The signs that someone dislikes you, even when they're hiding it, are always there. And the longer you ignore them, the more they cost you. You deserve to feel safe in your relationships. You deserve to be around people who uplift you, not secretly resent you. But the world isn't always that kind. Some people wear masks so well we start to believe the performance. They act warm, but their energy is cold. They act interested, but they never really hear you. They act supportive, but deep down they don't want you to succeed. This emotional dissonance creates confusion. It messes with your confidence. It makes you question your worth. That's not okay. And that's why it's so important to learn how to recognize the signs, the quiet red flags that someone doesn't have your best interests at heart. You might wonder, why would anyone hide their dislike? Why not just be honest? The answer is simple. People fear confrontation. They fear judgment. And in many cases, they fear losing control. So instead of being real, they pretend. They smile, but it's forced. They're polite, but it's rehearsed. They keep their distance, emotionally and energetically, while maintaining a thin layer of civility. It's emotional camouflage. And if you're an empathetic, self-aware person, you can sense it. You just don't always trust yourself to call it out. But here's the reward for paying attention, peace. Clarity, freedom. When you learn to spot hidden dislike, you stop wasting energy on relationships that were never safe to begin with. You stop doubting yourself. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that don't deserve you. You start showing up for yourself fully, fiercely, fearlessly. And when that happens, you make room for the people who truly value you, the ones who don't pretend, the ones who love you out loud. This isn't about bitterness. It's about wisdom. It's about tuning into your inner voice and learning how to protect your heart. Because the truth is, not everyone around you is for you, and that's okay. You don't need everyone to like you. You need the right people to see you, and you need to see yourself clearly first. So stay with me, because once you understand the subtle ways people show hidden dislike, you'll never again be fooled by fake smiles or empty words. You'll walk away from what doesn't serve you and walk toward what sets you free. People rarely say what they truly feel. Instead, they hide behind masks of politeness. They offer smiles without warmth, compliments without sincerity, conversations without connection. And if you're not paying close attention, it's easy to mistake this surface-level behavior for kindness. But there's a difference between being genuinely kind and being performatively polite. When someone truly respects you, their energy feels open. You feel seen, valued, safe. But when someone secretly dislikes you, their energy feels tight, conditional, controlled. You walk away feeling smaller, even if they never said a single harsh word. That's not your imagination. That's your intuition trying to wake you up. Forced politeness is one of the most common ways people hide their discomfort. It's polite words with cold eyes. It's laughter that feels too rehearsed. It's fake warmth that disappears the moment you stop paying attention. These behaviors are not random, they're calculated. Whether consciously or not, people use forced politeness as a shield. It allows them to avoid confrontation while still keeping emotional distance. It lets them preserve their image, avoid guilt, and protect their pride. But what it doesn't do is build trust. What it doesn't offer is truth. And if you've ever found yourself walking away from a conversation feeling confused or depleted, you've already felt its impact. You deserve relationships that are honest, even when they're uncomfortable. Real connection isn't always smooth or perfect, but it's always sincere. When someone truly values you, they don't need to over-polish their words or perform emotional intimacy. They're just present. They're real. They show up with consistency and care, not cold charm or robotic kindness. And when you stop settling for polite distance and start demanding real respect, everything changes. You stop playing along with people who only tolerate you. You stop giving your time to those who secretly resent your presence. You begin protecting your energy like it matters, because it does. This is how you take your power back. You stop chasing approval and start listening to your body. You trust the tension you feel when someone smiles with their mouth but not their soul. You honor the fatigue that hits after shallow conversations. You believe yourself when something doesn't feel right, even if everyone else says it looks fine. That's not negativity. That's emotional wisdom. And it's time to trust it. You weren't made to be tolerated. You weren't born to be politely dismissed. You were made to be fully seen, deeply respected, and unapologetically valued. If someone can't offer that, let them go. Let them keep their smiles, their empty compliments, and their shallow approval. You don't need it. What you need, what you deserve is honesty, wholeness, integrity. And that begins when you stop ignoring the signs, start trusting yourself, and finally walk away from the fake in search of what's real. Keep going. You're getting closer to the clarity you've always needed. There's a certain kind of pain that doesn't come from being yelled at or insulted. It comes from being dismissed through subtle, almost invisible jabs. Passive-aggressive behavior is the language of hidden resentment. It's the weapon people use when they don't have the courage to be honest. Instead of confronting their discomfort, they cloak it in sarcasm. They mask cruelty as humor. They pretend their words are harmless, but the sting lingers long after the smile fades. And you're left questioning yourself, wondering if you're too sensitive, if you're imagining things, if you're somehow to blame. You're not. What you're feeling is real. Passive aggression is real, and it's often the clearest sign that someone doesn't like you, but wants to keep pretending they do. This behavior is manipulative. It's designed to provoke emotion while avoiding accountability. A snide comment dressed as a joke. A compliment that somehow feels like a cut. A moment of silence that's louder than any insult. When someone speaks in this coded language, they're not engaging with you. They're undermining you. Slowly, subtly, consistently. And if you're not grounded in your worth, it can chip away at your confidence one comment at a time. You start shrinking. You second guess your reactions. You walk on eggshells. That's not peace. That's quiet war. And you don't have to stay in it. Recognizing passive aggression is the first step in reclaiming your power. Once you see it for what it is, emotional immaturity wrapped in fake civility, you can stop internalizing it. You stop making excuses for people who refuse to be honest. You stop explaining away the tension that rises in your chest every time you speak with them. You start calling the behavior by its name, not out loud, but within yourself. And that awareness is what sets you free. You don't have to respond with anger. You don't have to match their games. Your strength is in your clarity. When you see through the manipulation, you stop feeding it. You detach. You set emotional boundaries. You remind yourself that their passive aggression is not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their discomfort with your presence, your growth, your light. And that discomfort, it's not yours to fix. You were not made to decode hidden insults or endure emotional gymnastics. You were made to live in truth, in honesty, in environments where your voice isn't met with mockery but met with respect. Anything less is beneath you. Let people say what they want. Let them hide behind smiles. But don't let their silence shrink your spirit. Don't let their sarcasm steal your joy. You don't need their hidden approval. You need your own unwavering belief in who you are. And once you lock into that, no passive-aggressive comment can shake it. You rise, you hold your ground, and you walk away from anything that doesn't honor your peace. There's something deeply unsettling about speaking to someone who refuses to meet your eyes. Not just once, not just out of shyness or distraction, but repeatedly, deliberately, as if looking at you is too much for them to bear. Eye contact is one of the purest forms of human connection. It communicates presence. It builds trust. It reveals intention. So when someone avoids it, especially when everything else seems polite on the surface, it sends a quiet message that something is wrong. The human mind picks up on it instantly. You feel it before you understand it, that invisible wall, that silent distance. And no matter how kind their words may be, your body already knows the truth. They're disconnected, withholding, guarded. That's not your imagination. That's your emotional intelligence doing its job. Avoidance of eye contact is often a subconscious expression of hidden tension. It's a way people protect themselves from vulnerability, from exposure, from having to truly acknowledge the person in front of them. When someone secretly dislikes you but doesn't want to admit it, they withdraw without explanation. Their body language closes off. Their eyes look past you, not into you. They'll look at their phone, the floor, the wall, anywhere but you. And if you bring it up, they'll deny it, laugh it off, or deflect. Because confronting the truth would mean revealing feelings they'd rather keep buried. You can't force connection where it doesn't want to exist. You can't make someone see you if they've already decided to turn away, but you can choose to stop begging for presence from someone who's emotionally absent. You can choose to stop shrinking yourself to stay in their frame. Their lack of eye contact is not a reflection of your worth. It's a mirror of their avoidance, of what they don't want to face within themselves, and your job isn't to decode it. Your job is to honor what you feel and protect what you deserve. You deserve to be looked at with respect, with warmth, with acknowledgement. You deserve to be in spaces where your presence is welcome, not ignored, where connection flows naturally, not forced through empty conversation, where someone's eyes don't dart away every time your truth rises to the surface. Anything less is a sign to realign, to choose people who don't just hear your voice but truly see your soul. And if someone chooses to disconnect, if they can't meet your gaze or hold space for your presence, let them go. You're not here to chase eye contact from the emotionally unavailable. You're here to become so grounded in your own presence that anyone who refuses to truly see you fades out of focus. You rise by recognizing who you are and refusing to dim your light for those who can't handle its brightness. Trust your perception. It's not weakness, it's power. And the more you listen to it, the more clearly you'll see who truly belongs in your life. Nothing reveals true energy like how someone responds to your success. When you rise, watch who claps. When you win, pay attention to who stays silent. Because hidden dislike often shows itself through quiet resentment, not loud resistance. They won't openly criticize you. They'll just withhold celebration. They'll smile without enthusiasm, offer lukewarm congratulations, or change the subject entirely. And deep down you feel it. You feel the emptiness behind their words, the absence of genuine joy, the subtle shift in tone when your light begins to shine a little too bright for their comfort. This isn't about needing validation. It's about recognizing when someone can't handle your growth, not because you're doing something wrong, but because your success reminds them of everything they've avoided within themselves. It stirs their insecurities. It exposes the gap between their potential and their action. And rather than confront that gap, they project it onto you. They withdraw support. They minimize your achievements. They pretend to be happy for you while hoping you don't notice the tension behind their eyes. But you do notice. Because energy doesn't lie. You are not made to dim your light to keep others comfortable. You are not put here to apologize for your evolution. Your success is not a threat. It is a mirror reflecting what's possible. The people who truly care about you will never feel intimidated by your growth. They'll cheer you on, even when they're struggling. They'll celebrate your wins, even when they haven't found their own yet. Because love, real love, is expansive. It lifts, not limits. It supports, not suppresses. The people who withhold support when you need it most are revealing their truth. They are showing you who they are behind the performance. And as painful as that realization can be, it's also a gift, because it frees you from the illusion. It wakes you up to who's truly in your corner and who's just clapping until the spotlight lands on you. You don't need half-hearted cheerleaders. You need aligned souls. People who want to see you win without condition, without ego, without envy. If someone cannot celebrate your success, they don't deserve access to your next level. You don't have to confront them. You don't have to explain yourself. You simply rise. Quietly, powerfully, and allow their absence of support to make room for something real. Something rooted in authenticity, in mutual respect, in true connection. Keep rising, keep growing, keep shining, not to impress, not to prove, but to honor the potential that lives within you. Those who are meant for you will never feel threatened by your light. They will stand beside you, not behind you. And they'll celebrate, not because they have to, but because they want to. That's how you'll know the difference. That's how you'll know who's real. Let that be your guide as you continue to become everything you were born to be. When someone doesn't want you around but won't admit it, they don't always use words. They use patterns. They start leaving you out. Not in obvious ways, not in ways they can be called out for, but in quiet, calculated ways that slowly chip away at your sense of belonging. You're not invited to conversations you should be part of. You're not informed about plans until they've already happened. You find out about events through someone else. You tell yourself it's just a mistake, just a coincidence, but it keeps happening. And eventually, the truth becomes harder to ignore. They're not forgetting you. They're choosing not to include you. This kind of exclusion is psychological warfare. It's designed to make you question yourself, to second guess your worth, to wonder what you did wrong. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Because the message behind the silence is clear. You don't matter enough to be seen. You don't matter enough to be invited. And if you're not careful, you start internalizing that message. You start believing you're too much or not enough. You start playing small. You start chasing inclusion instead of standing in your truth. But you don't need to be where you're not valued. You don't need to sit at tables where your presence is treated like an afterthought. Real connection doesn't make you beg for space. It welcomes you without hesitation. You are not made to earn your way into people's circles. You are made to walk in your worth, and those who recognize it will make room for you without needing reminders. Those who care will notice when you're missing. They'll reach out. They'll include you not because they have to, but because they want to. That's what respect looks like. That's what truth feels like. When someone repeatedly excludes you in subtle ways, believe what their behavior is saying, it's not about the missed invitation. It's about the message behind it. And the message is this: they're not aligned with you. They're not invested in you. And the longer you stay trying to earn their attention, the further you drift from yourself. You don't rise by forcing yourself into places that reject you quietly. You rise by recognizing the rejection and choosing not to take it personally. You rise by walking away without bitterness and reclaiming the energy you spent trying to belong. You rise by deciding that inclusion that costs your dignity isn't worth having. Let them gather without you. Let them speak without you. Let them move in silence if they choose. But don't let that silence convince you to doubt your value. You were never meant to be background noise in anyone's life. You were meant to be seen, heard, respected. And if they can't offer that, their absence is a blessing. It clears the space for people who will never make you question your place. Keep walking. Your worth speaks louder than their silence ever could. Some messages are spoken without words. The body speaks even when the mouth stays silent. And when someone harbors hidden dislike, their body often betrays them before their voice ever will. Closed arms, turned shoulders, leaning away instead of toward, a lack of warmth in their presence. These subtle cues are often brushed off, but they're not meaningless. They are signals, warnings, instinctual movements that reveal the truth beneath the surface. Because while words can lie, energy and posture rarely do. You've felt it before, that chill in the room that doesn't match the temperature. That moment when someone shifts slightly away as you enter. That flicker of discomfort when your hand gets too close, or your presence lingers a second longer than they'd prefer. You notice. Maybe you pretend you didn't. Maybe you give them the benefit of the doubt, but inside, your nervous system registers everything. It doesn't need language. It just knows. And what it knows is this: something is off. You were made to exist in spaces that welcome you, not tense up when you walk in. You are meant to be around people whose body language feels open, natural, safe. People who turn toward you, not away. Who lean in, not out. Who feel at ease in your presence because they see you as someone worthy of genuine connection, not someone to be tolerated from a distance. When that openness isn't there, when their physical presence feels closed off, guarded, or uneasy, it's often a deeper reflection of how they feel about you, and no amount of polite conversation can undo what the body reveals. Trust your ability to notice what isn't being said. Trust the way your own body responds when you're around someone who doesn't truly want you there. Your tension, your hesitation, your subtle urge to pull back, these are not signs of weakness or insecurity. They are your intelligence in motion. Your awareness is trying to protect you. Listen to it. You don't have to decode every crossed arm or every stiff smile, but when patterns emerge, don't ignore them. You deserve to be around people who feel relaxed in your presence, whose energy feels welcoming, whose posture invites, not rejects. And if that's not what you're receiving, it's okay to step back. Not with anger, not with drama, just with clarity, just with self-respect. You don't need to confront anyone to reclaim your space. You simply need to notice the signs, believe what they show you, and act accordingly. Your peace is worth more than forced closeness. Your truth is louder than someone else's discomfort. And once you stop needing approval from people who can't even look you in the eye without tension, you step into a power that can't be shaken. Be where the energy flows freely. Be where your presence is met with openness, and leave behind anything that makes your soul feel unwelcome. You owe yourself that much. When someone only speaks to you out of necessity, not desire, it leaves a mark. A quiet ache that's hard to name. You feel it in the way their messages come late or not at all, in the way conversations stay shallow, like walking on the surface of something that could be meaningful but never is. They don't ask how you're doing unless they need something. They don't initiate. They don't follow up. Their words are few, their energy withdrawn, their presence only there when it's convenient. And yet, they remain polite enough to keep you guessing, to keep you hoping, to keep you stuck. Communication is not just about words. It's about intention, effort, willingness. You can feel the difference when someone truly wants to talk to you. You don't have to chase them down. You don't have to wonder if you're bothering them. They show up without being asked. They ask questions because they care, not because they're obligated. They engage because they want connection, not because the moment demands it. When that effort is missing, no amount of polite responses can make up for the absence of real connection. You were not created to be someone's backup option. You were not meant to be tolerated in moments of convenience. You were meant to be engaged with fully, intentionally, genuinely. If someone only speaks to you when they have to, not because they want to, that's not a relationship, that's a transaction. And your soul was made for more than that. You deserve more than the bare minimum, more than one-word replies, more than conversations that feel like chores. You deserve depth, curiosity, presence, the kind of connection that doesn't wait for a reason to appear. It simply shows up. Because when people care, they communicate. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consistently. Because they want to, because it matters, because you matter. Stop trying to interpret cold responses as signs of warmth. Stop justifying silence with excuses. If someone wanted to know you, they would try. If someone valued you, they would show it. Their lack of effort is not a mystery, it's an answer. And when you finally accept that answer, no matter how painful it feels, you set yourself free. Free to stop chasing, free to stop wondering, free to stop pouring yourself into someone who can't even be bothered to show up without prompting. This is your reminder. Silence speaks. Disinterest communicates. Avoidance has a voice. And you don't need to decode it any longer. Let them keep their distance. Let them respond when it's convenient. But you reclaim your space. You reclaim your voice. And you redirect your energy toward the people who don't just respond, but reach. Who don't just acknowledge, but engage. That's what you're worthy of. That's the kind of connection that feeds your soul instead of draining it. Let go of the empty effort. Choose presence. Choose mutuality. Choose you every time. There is a high cost to pretending you don't notice the signs. A slow erosion of your self-worth happens when you keep making room for people who have quietly pushed you out. You feel it, but you bury it. You sense the distance, but you convince yourself it's temporary. You try harder, give more, stay longer, because part of you still hopes it's all in your head. But it's not. That quiet ache is real. That confusion that creeps in after every interaction is real. That exhaustion from trying to maintain one-sided connections is real. And the longer you ignore it, the deeper it cuts. When someone secretly dislikes you but hides it with politeness, it creates a dangerous kind of emotional tension. You begin to gaslight yourself. You start thinking you're being too sensitive, too needy, too reactive. You silence your intuition. You suppress your voice. You justify behaviors that would never be acceptable if the roles were reversed. And all of this just to avoid one painful truth, that you're not truly wanted in that space, not for who you are, not in your fullness. Only in pieces, only when it's convenient, only when it benefits them. But shrinking yourself to avoid discomfort is not self-love, it's self-abandonment. And it never ends well. Because the more you try to force connection where none exists, the more disconnected you become from yourself. You start to forget what genuine connection even feels like. You mistake tension for passion, confusion for depth, coldness for maturity. You lose your clarity. You lose your peace. And eventually, you lose parts of yourself you were never meant to give away. It doesn't have to be that way. The truth, no matter how painful, is always better than the lie, because truth frees you. It gives you the clarity to make real choices, the power to stop chasing and start choosing. When you acknowledge the signs for what they are, you stop wasting energy on dead ends. You stop giving your heart to people who only offer their presence in fragments. You begin the process of healing, of returning to yourself. You are not here to tolerate emotional confusion. You are here to be rooted in truth, To build relationships based on mutual respect, not performance, to be surrounded by people who are consistent in action, not just polite in words. People who don't make you question your place every time you show up. You don't need more proof. You don't need another unanswered message or another forced conversation to confirm what your spirit already knows. What you need is courage. Courage to believe your own experience. Courage to walk away from the people who drain you behind closed doors while smiling in public. You owe it to yourself to stop pretending, to stop tolerating the subtle disrespect, and to start honoring your energy like it's sacred, because it is. You are not asking for too much. You are simply asking in the wrong place. Choose yourself and never again beg to be seen. Clarity isn't just something you find. It's something you earn through honesty, through courage, through choosing to see what you once tried so hard to unsee. When someone doesn't like you and hides it behind a mask of forced politeness, your first instinct might be to fix it, to smooth it over, to prove your worth until they change their mind. But that need to prove yourself is where the pain begins. Because the truth is, love that has to be earned through performance is not love at all. And peace that depends on walking on eggshells is not peace. It's pressure. You are not responsible for managing someone else's discomfort. You are not here to decode mixed signals or make sense of energy that was never honest to begin with. You are here to stand in your own emotional clarity, to choose relationships that nourish your spirit, not confuse your mind. When someone's actions speak louder than their words, believe the actions, believe the hesitation, believe the energy. Because your nervous system already does. It already registers the difference between safe and unsafe, welcome and unwanted, truth and performance. All that's left is for you to listen. The longer you deny what you feel, the more it costs you, not just in time or effort, but in self-respect. Every time you ignore the signs, you tell your soul that it doesn't matter. You teach your heart to stay quiet when it wants to speak. You learn to tolerate what you are meant to walk away from. And slowly, your ability to recognize healthy love becomes weaker. You forget what safety feels like, what openness feels like, what being genuinely wanted feels like. But that clarity you're searching for is already inside you. It's in the discomfort, the tension, the ache you can't quite explain. That ache is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's your heart trying to protect itself. It's your intuition asking you to stop pretending, stop waiting for someone to change, stop hoping their kindness will suddenly become real, because your healing doesn't depend on their honesty, it depends on yours. It is not selfish to choose your own peace. It is not cruel to let go of connections that drain you. You are not obligated to stay in spaces that feel false just because you once believed they were true. You have the right to outgrow dynamics that no longer serve your growth. You have the right to stop explaining yourself to people who never intended to understand you. There is power in letting go of confusion. There is strength in walking away from the emotional fog others create when they refuse to be real. When you choose clarity, you choose yourself. You choose peace over performance. You choose truth over tension. And that choice will always lead you home to who you really are, to what you really deserve, and to the life you were always meant to live. Keep listening to yourself. You already know the way. Not everyone will like you. Not everyone will support you. And the moment you accept that, something inside you unlocks. A heavy weight lifts. The need for approval fades. The craving to be understood by people who are never willing to see you dissolves. Because what they think of you does not define you. Their silence does not silence your worth. Their hidden resentment does not reduce your value. And their inability to be real is not your responsibility to fix. You were never meant to carry the emotional weight of someone else's insecurities. But when you internalize their indifference, you start to believe that maybe you're too much, too bold, too different, too intense. You begin editing your truth to fit into their comfort. You begin tiptoeing around your own light just to avoid casting a shadow. But you cannot shrink enough to make someone else feel safe. You cannot become small enough to make them like you. And you shouldn't have to. Dislike, even when hidden, is not about your failure. It's about their fear. Sometimes people dislike what they don't understand, what they envy, what they cannot control. Sometimes your strength reminds them of their weakness. Your voice reminds them of where they've stayed silent. Your evolution reminds them of where they've stayed stuck. But none of that has anything to do with you. Their discomfort is theirs to carry, not yours. And yet it still hurts. It hurts to feel unseen. It hurts to sense that someone doesn't like you but pretends they do. It creates a kind of loneliness that words can't reach. But that pain is not a punishment. It's a signal. It's asking you to return to yourself, to stop seeking acceptance from those who refuse to meet you with honesty, to stop handing pieces of your identity to people who don't know how to hold them. Freedom comes the moment you stop needing everyone to like you. That freedom feels like power. It feels like peace. It feels like finally being able to exhale after years of holding your breath. When you release the need to be accepted by all, you attract the ones who see you clearly, the ones who love without performance, the ones who celebrate without competition, the ones who speak without disguise. This is the clarity you've earned. The kind that comes when you've walked through confusion and chosen truth anyway. The kind that says, I don't need you to like me in order to love myself. That is the foundation of self-respect. That is the core of personal power. And it's not built by changing who you are to fit into someone else's version of acceptance. It's built by becoming so rooted in who you are that their hidden dislike can't reach you. Let them keep pretending. Let them stay uncomfortable. You're not here to manage their perception. You're here to be real, to rise, and to walk in truth, no matter who can't handle it. You don't need to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. Their opinion is not your truth. Their silence is not your signal to shrink. Their absence of support does not mean you're on the wrong path. It simply means you're growing past their ability to relate. When someone secretly dislikes you, they may not come out and say it, but they show you in the way they dismiss your excitement, in the way they downplay your effort, in the way they suddenly grow quiet when you're winning. And if you don't catch those signs, you may start questioning your own light instead of recognizing their shadow. You were not made to be tolerated. You were made to be fully seen, deeply heard, and unapologetically felt. But not everyone has the emotional capacity to meet you there. Some people wear masks so tightly they forget what truth feels like. And when they see someone walk freely in their authenticity, it unsettles them. Because realness exposes pretending. Confidence exposes insecurity. Growth exposes stagnation. And instead of facing themselves, they project it onto you. It's not about you. It never was. You're not here to dim your light so others feel comfortable in the dark. You're not here to tone down your soul so others don't feel left behind. If someone can't handle your light, let them look away. If someone can't match your energy, let them fall back. You've spent too much of your life shrinking to fit into spaces that never respected your fullness. That ends now. From this moment on, you reclaim your space. You stop asking for permission to be whole. You stop waiting for silent approval from people too afraid to speak their truth. Let them misunderstand you. Let them judge you. Let them keep their hidden opinions. That's their burden, not yours. What matters is that you don't carry it. What matters is that you don't build your identity on their fragile perception. You are not a reflection of their fears. You are a reflection of your own healing, your own power, your own rising. And the more you step into that, the more their discomfort will show. But that's a sign you're on the right path. Growth makes noise. Truth shakes comfort zones. Power doesn't whisper, it roars. You are not too much. You are not too loud, too deep, too sensitive, or too intense. You are exactly who you're meant to be. And the people meant for you will never make you feel like a burden. They will meet you with clarity, with openness, with consistency. They won't hide behind fake support or empty words. They'll show up fully and honestly. You don't need hidden approval. You need real connection. And that begins when you stop chasing what's unclear and start standing firmly in what you know. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to be real with yourself. Stand in that, own that, and let the rest fall away. If someone's energy makes you question your worth, pay attention. You are not imagining it. When someone secretly harbors dislike, it leaks through their actions, their silence, their subtle withdrawal. It's not always loud, it's not always dramatic, but it's felt. And when you feel it, your nervous system picks up what your mind tries to ignore, that quiet tension, or that lack of warmth, that sense that something's off, even when everything appears normal. And the more you override it, the more disconnected you become from your truth. You don't need to see a direct attack to know something isn't right. You feel it in the lack of eye contact, the absence of genuine enthusiasm, the way your words seem to land flat. When someone doesn't like you but tries to hide it, they show it in all the spaces where kindness should exist. You won't always get a reason, you won't always get clarity, but you will get patterns. And those patterns speak louder than fake words ever will. Trust what you feel. You were born with intuition for a reason. It's not a weakness. It's a survival tool. It's your body trying to protect your peace. When someone's presence feels heavy, when their praise feels empty, when their smile doesn't reach their eyes, you're not obligated to explain it away. You're allowed to trust your gut even when logic hasn't caught up yet. You're allowed to take a step back even when no one else sees what you do. You don't owe closeness to anyone who makes you feel emotionally unsafe. Hidden dislike creates invisible wounds. It teaches you to doubt yourself, to question your clarity, to walk on eggshells around people who pretend to support you. That's not connection, that's control. And the more you expose yourself to that energy, the more it chips away at your sense of self. You begin to soften your edges, dull your shine, and lower your standards just to keep the peace. But peace built on pretending is just another kind of war. You deserve environments where your spirit is welcomed, not tolerated, where your growth is celebrated, not resented, where your voice is heard, not managed. And when someone can't meet you there, it's not your job to wait for them to evolve. It's your job to keep growing anyway, to surround yourself with people who mirror your integrity, who rise when you rise, who hold space without comparison. That kind of energy doesn't leave you guessing. It meets you with clarity. It moves with honesty. It stands with you, even when it's uncomfortable. Let go of the need for mutuality with people who can't be real with themselves. You cannot build a solid bond with someone hiding behind a mask, and you don't need to. Your energy is sacred. Your time is limited. Your peace is priceless. Protect it by walking away from anything that makes your soul second-guess its own voice. You owe yourself that kind of protection. You owe yourself that kind of freedom. You never have to chase what is meant to stay. Real connection doesn't leave you questioning your place. It doesn't ask you to prove your value or fight for acknowledgement. When someone truly respects you, it's evident in their presence, their energy, and their consistency. You are not left deciphering mixed signals or doubting your own instincts. But when someone dislikes you and tries to hide it, confusion becomes the norm. The relationship starts to feel like a maze, one where you give more just to feel less ignored, one where you apologize for things you didn't do, one where you begin to lose yourself trying to be accepted. This is not your burden to carry. People often pretend to like you because it's easier than being honest, because silence keeps the peace, even when it poisons the atmosphere. They smile with their face, but not with their soul. They agree with their words, but resist with their tone. Their presence is heavy, not because of what they say, but because of what they don't. The avoidance, the passive resistance, the lack of genuine engagement, these are not accidents. They are quiet choices. Deliberate ways of keeping you close while never truly letting you in. You deserve more than proximity. You deserve presence. You deserve people who don't hide behind politeness, who don't secretly compete while pretending to support, who don't nod in agreement while resenting your success. Real support feels safe. It feels warm. It feels honest. You don't have to decode it. You don't have to search for proof. It just is. And that's how you know. So if your body feels unsettled around someone, believe it. If you walk away from a conversation feeling smaller, that's information. If you constantly replay interactions in your mind, trying to make sense of subtle slights and silent shifts, something isn't right. You are not difficult for noticing. You are not dramatic for feeling. You are not sensitive for responding. You are aware. You are intuitive. You are tuned in. And the more you own that, the less power others have to distort your reality. You stop needing their validation. You stop trying to earn peace from people who never had the capacity to offer it. You stop building relationships based on hope instead of truth. That's where your power returns. Not by confronting them, not by demanding clarity, but by standing rooted in what you know and choosing yourself without apology. Some people will never admit how they really feel, but you don't need their words to guide your decisions. You need your truth. You need your self-respect. You need your inner peace. And that means choosing to walk away from anything that chips away at your worth in subtle, unspoken ways. The more honest you are with yourself, the less room there is for hidden resentment in your life. And the more peace you'll find in being exactly who you are, without shrinking for anyone who can't appreciate your presence. You do not exist to be tolerated. You do not exist to be managed, minimized, or subtly dismissed. You were not born to live in the shadows of someone else's discomfort. The truth is, when someone dislikes you and hides it behind forced politeness or fake smiles, it's not your failure. It's a reflection of their limitations, not your lack of worth. You don't need to make yourself more palatable, quieter, easier to digest. That's not self-growth, that's self-erasure. And every time you choose silence over truth to avoid making others uncomfortable, you tell your inner voice it doesn't matter. But it does. Your ability to sense misalignment is not a curse. It's a compass. It's your protection. It's your reminder that not every closed door is rejection. Some doors are divine redirection. Some doors are boundaries in disguise. And when someone's energy contradicts their words, it's your responsibility to choose clarity over confusion. Not by forcing confrontation, not by begging for transparency, but by honoring what you already know deep within. When their presence disrupts your peace more than it nurtures your confidence, you have your answer. You don't need them to admit anything. The shift in energy has already spoken. Choosing to trust yourself is the beginning of true power. It's where the people-pleasing ends. It's where you stop shrinking to fit into environments that never had room for you. It's where you begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that were abandoned in exchange for temporary acceptance. You were not created to be halfway loved. You were not designed to beg for belonging. The right people will never make you question your place. They will never force you to earn basic respect or second-guess your intuition. You were built for connection rooted in truth, not performance. In honesty, not illusion. And sometimes that means walking away from people who smile at your face but roll their eyes when you speak. From people who are kind in public but cold in private. From those who support you with their mouths but compete with you in their minds. This is not judgment, this is discernment, and it's necessary. Because the longer you ignore your instincts, the longer you delay your growth. The longer you stay attached to those who quietly resent your presence, the more you betray your own light. Freedom comes when you stop waiting for proof and start acting on truth, when you stop needing them to like you and start liking yourself enough to leave. That shift doesn't make you hard. It makes you wise. It doesn't make you bitter. It makes you brave. Because being emotionally honest in a world that rewards pretending is one of the greatest acts of courage. You were never meant to dim your brilliance just to avoid making others squint. You were meant to stand in full light, no longer available for spaces that require you to dilute your truth just to be allowed in. There's a moment in every soul's journey when silence becomes louder than words, when the unsaid weighs more than what's spoken. And in that silence, you begin to hear the truth you've been trying to ignore. Disguised dislike, hidden judgment, quiet hostility, it shows itself in small ways. Not through confrontation, but through neglect. Through the way they overlook your efforts. Through the way your presence feels tolerated, not welcomed. You sense the shift, even if they never name it. You feel the distance, even if they smile in your face. And the longer you pretend not to see it, the further you drift from your own truth. But you weren't made to live in emotional distortion. You were made to move in clarity. There's nothing noble about staying where you feel invisible. There's no strength in proving your worth to someone who has already decided to question it. When someone silently withdraws their respect, you don't fight harder for their approval. You reclaim your dignity. You remind yourself that your value doesn't shrink in the face of their denial. It rises. Not because they see it, but because you choose to. Because you decide to stop giving energy to spaces where you have to beg for basic care. Real connection feels like oxygen. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to work for it. You just breathe it in and feel safe. But when someone secretly dislikes you, everything becomes work. You monitor your words. You tiptoe around their moods. You replay moments trying to figure out what went wrong. That's not growth. That's emotional self-abandonment. And the longer you stay in that space, the more you lose touch with your center. The more you forget what peace feels like. The more you internalize the weight of their rejection as a measure of your identity. Let that go. Let go of the urge to fix, to explain, to win them over. You are not here to convince anyone to respect you. You are here to embody self-respect so fully that it becomes impossible to be mistreated. That begins by believing what your intuition tells you. That still, small voice that whispers, "This doesn't feel right."